I guess we're on. I guess are we on? Yeah, I guess. Anyway, welcome to. Let me get the. Hold on. Excuse me a second, everyone. Okay, all right. Here we go. We're on. I guess we're on. Okay, I'm gonna accept that. I'm gonna guess that we're on. So, welcome to Sunday night, or actually, welcome to live now on planet Earth. Since some people are probably convinced it's Sunday and other people are convinced it's Monday, so it's just live now on planet Earth with the right glasses. Yeah. Here we go. All right. Cool. So here we are. Um, it's a wild, wild week. It's so wild and it's so bizarre and it's so weird that it's not even worth talking about anymore. Yeah, not even worth. You, it's not worth talking about. It's just too weird, right? So anyway, at least we're all still alive right now. And so let's go for it. Let's be alive and talk about what we usually talk about, and that is how to be free from the tyranny of linguistic manipulation. And I'm not talking about all the political stuff that's going on and the weird stuff about it, you know, real invasions, alien invasions. Forget all that. I'm talking about our health, our um, we're um, what's becomes clear if you look at it from the proper perspective is that we are linguistically we're just like a spider when an insect gets caught in the spider web and then the spider puts this it just ties it up with more and more web until it can't move, and that's what's happened to us linguistically. So linguistically we're being incarcerated, um, and this incarceration not only includes it includes our psyche, it includes our perceptions. It clouds the way it doesn't cloud, it defines the way we perceive reality. And so we perceive reality in this very bizarre mythological thing called diseases. And I know most people out there are really still convinced that there are diseases that get you and you've got to get rid of them. And I know, I mean, because that's the Rockefeller thing, that's the Rocky and his gang, and they want us to do this. So they've got all these billions of names. There's new names coming up every like the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual. I mean, what was it? I was back at the DSM-2. I don't know what they're at now. The DSM-5, who knows? The Diagnostic and Statistic Manual. That's just of psychiatric terms, but the number of diagnoses, the number of diseases that are afflicting humanity, and the only thing that's going to save us is these guys on the white horses with the white capes coming out of the pharmaceutical and medical halls of wisdom are going to save us by inoculating us and by drugging us and by irradiating us. And we're so linguistically mesmerized that we're going, oh, yeah, shot, doctor. Okay, doctor. Irradiate me. Okay, irradiate me. So that's what's happened to us. So that's what I'm here to do. I would like to break that linguistic web. Okay, and help us learn to speak properly to each other so that we can communicate. Because the goal of speaking actually is, I know we forgot that, but actually the goal of speaking is to communicate. And in order to do that, we've got to be using words that have meaning, and not words that are designed to um, obscure, obfuscate, cloud. No, we don't need words like that. But that's what we're lost in. So anyway, one of the things that we all need to realize is that these well, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm developing a course, a psycholinguistics course to get us out of this, because otherwise we're screwed. And you don't even know the subtleties of it. You don't realize the subtleties of it. Almost any aspect of anything you're engaged with, if you're not well and you're at all dealing with the medical profession, then you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're in trouble because you've already taken a priori. You've taken the assumption that there's diseases and they're going to fix you, and you're lost already, because that's not what's going on at all. Okay, there are no diseases. The body's adapting. It's adapting to the fact that we live in an exceedingly toxic world. And it's toxic not only the air, water, food, um, and the atmosphere and the EMF. Not only that toxicity, but the psychological toxicity. The psychological toxicity is the absolute worst, and that's what gets us. Because if you get out of that, if you can clear away that web and be clear, then none of your fears are gone. Remember, fear is what kills. It's fear. And it's the absolute freedom from fear that heals. That sounds a little bit extreme, but it just happens to be true. And it's true because I've seen it. It's not something I've imagined, because how would I imagine such a bizarre thing? What do you imagine that? It's not something you imagine. You either observe it or not. And I've observed it. I've observed that the changing of the mind, their health. And I was really happy to see Zach Bush had put out a video of the same thing. He calls it stories. You got to change your story, and you change your story, and you're, once upon a time, right? You're a little kid, and your parents are reading to you, your mom's reading to you, your dad's reading to you, and once upon a time, and that once upon a time, they take you on some journey, and then the next day, it's once upon a time, and there's another journey. So whatever the story is where you are, and that's your reality. So that Zach Bush has not only that, a lot of ways he's a pretty amazing guy, but the fact that he sees that is fantastic, because he's the only other person that I've heard talk about it. So I'm really quite impressed. Anyway, so let's do this thing about where is it? Oh, there we go. Yeah, that part there. So just as a reminder, this is the called the Sunday Night Live, but we all know it's live now on planet Earth. And the format of this is you've sent in questions, and we're going to get to as many as we possibly can. And that's the format. And then in terms of spontaneous questions that might arise as we're going through this, I can't really address them because it's not fair to the people who sent them in. That's why I have these groups. And I have three groups: the health and healing group, the parasite group, and the CFC group, which is, again, for those who are still linguistically stuck in the Rockefeller web that you call cancer. They're really chronically fermenting cells, and that's how we refer to them for multiple reasons, which I won't reiterate again today. But take it from me, that's what they are, and that's what we should talk about, and not talk about astrology. Okay, I mean, I'm into astrology, but not in this regard. Okay, um, so and so in those groups we have discussions, we interact. I can ask, if you ask a question, I can ask, I can get some clarity on what you're really asking by just having a dialogue with you. So that's why you want to join these groups, and then all that, and so that's that. So we're on all these social medias, but it's at Dr. Thomas Lodi, Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD, on X and TikTok, and at Dr. Thomas Lodi without the MD on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Rumble, etc. Okay. Okay. Now, the uh, the other thing is that these part 4 of the exposing the myths of on the human diet, exposing the myths, supposed to be November 20th, but I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. So I don't know if we're going to do it then or not. So if I gotta have to give people have to sign up for it. So if there's no people signing up, we can't do it for a while. Anyway, it's tragic. So and the other thing is this: I'm gonna so a lot of people are asking for consultations, and I stopped doing consultations just because I can't I can't work with as many people on doing consultations as I do with the groups. The groups are really much better, and they're almost, or actually they're better than consultations because they're ongoing. They're every week. However, I'm going to start taking a few, and I'm going to just limit it to a few per week of private consultations, and so because I just can't, I won't have the time, but I wanted, there's a few per week. So if you're interested in that, it's hello@drlodi.com. You can talk to my assistant Fa, hello@drlodi.com, and we can start doing some few private consultations. All right. So let's get into it. Wait a minute. Go away. Here we go. This one here. Yeah. All right. So we're on. All right. All right. So what's the first question? First question is from Lisa, and it is, what are your thoughts on? Oh, by the way, I never haven't finished my book, but on saving our language. We talk about language all the time. Language can kill you, or it can bring you to the point of understanding how to get liberated, and then of course that would be transcending language. But other than that, I just want you to know that your language is, so the language we have, right? The English language that we're speaking now. I mean, there are other fantastic, beautiful languages. I don't know how English became the language of the world, but somehow it did. It used to be French. Now it's English. I mean, French used to be like the international language. But it's bizarre, because that excludes Asia, of course. Asia always got excluded because we were all Western oriented, which is we're learning is not going to work out too well in the future. We better get a little Asian glancing over here. But anyway, language, preserve your language, love your language. Okay, stop throwing it away. Stop using these absurd things. You are, Lisa, come on, Lisa. I don't know how old you are, but you know how to spell your, Y-O-U-R. If you forgot the Y and the O, okay? And I know we do that for what? We think is it easier? It's easier for you because you've already forgotten how to spell the word. But for me, I've got to think, how would I misspell a word to make it shorter? So I got to think about it. All right, instead of just using a language that we were given. And I mean, and this language, read a book. I challenge you all, everyone, pick up a book that was a novel, Nothing scientific. A novel written in 1880, and read it. You're gonna have trouble. You're not gonna know half of the words. You won't understand. The syntax will be beyond your. You don't think that way. Okay, we've lost it. And now, okay, we've lost it. We've lost it by over 50% of our working vocabularies. All right. So whatever we have left, preserve it, man. What do uh, when we don't know how to add and subtract anymore, right? You know that the clerk at the store, without using their device, whatever they're using, would not know how to give you change. You know that, right? Yeah. You know that people aren't learning how to do that anymore. You know that we're not learning how to write. All right, we're learning how to type, which means we're completely digital. Okay, so when you lose cursive and you lose that, that means anything that was written in the ancient, more than before Gutenberg, before the press, before the printing press, that wasn't put into a digital format, into a written format, a printed format rather than cursive. Anything that wasn't will be lost to you. So we're going to lose all that history. So we're going to lose knowledge. All right, already we're going to lose that knowledge because we can't read it, and our working vocabulary is getting smaller and smaller. And so by you understand, by 2040 we will be the majority of English speaking people will be functionally illiterate. You'll be able to read signs, probably how to go over here, how to do that, and how to, but that's it. Nothing of requiring complex thought. So preserve your language and stop doing this stuff. Don't do that stuff. How are you? No. AREYOU. Come on. Is that hard? That's hard. That's difficult. Is that going to really screw up your day? You're not going to have time to do what? To scroll? Come on. Save the language. That literacy is, when they own the illiteracy and they own the knowledge, you're a slave. So you are walking into slavery. Volunteering, yay. Yeah, I don't need to speak or read or anything. All I need to do is eat and play games. All right, well, that's not it. That's not it. So preserve our language, you guys, okay? So what are your thoughts on pearl powder? Benefits bone health, immune health. See all these words you're spelling, Lisa, like the word essential, benefits, amino, calcium carbonate, and YOUR. It should not be difficult. Okay, you guys, I'm going to do this because, come on, it's a language. This is your literacy. This is your mind. This is who you are. Okay, or not who you are, but it's the image. I'm not going to get into all that, but the mind is an important tool, and it's also our most a terminal trap. All right, so you've got to protect it and take care of your mind. Can't get out. I can't get it. So anyway, this pearl powder, you're using topically on your skin and eyes, but would like to try ingesting it for more benefits, but a bit worried. Ingredient states aluminum, iron, sodium, calcium, phosphate. Yeah, well, okay, very true, very true. Those things. So, and I understand your concern because we certainly don't want to ingest any more aluminum since they're dropping it on us at night when we sleep. We've got enough aluminum nanoparticles of aluminum. However, where is this? So was it? Yeah. So you're correct. So pearl powder, as you all know what pearls are, right? Okay. So pearls are they're really a product of these creatures that are mollusks, and they've been used for jewelry, but they've also been used for health benefits in China, all the way back to like I guess way back in the northern Song dynasty, the northern part, like a long time ago. They've been around for a while. It's been around for a while. Then pretty much Japanese took over, and most of the pearls have been um, harvested in Japan. Now they're harvested worldwide and used. And so now they've got you know the technology to to grind it up into fine nano-sized particles and stuff like that. But remember, they've been used. It's been used for thousands of years. So one thing there to keep in mind is that Lisa and everybody, and that is if something is like traditional Chinese, Ayurvedic, anything, any of the ancient indigenous uh, healing disciplines, um, they're right. They're right because listen, it's withstood the test of time. If it's been used for 1,000 years, that means it's working. Otherwise, it's not going to be used. That it's not going to be used. Well, people were practical before we became idiots. Um, so before we were idiots, the pre-idiot days, we were actually intelligent and practical. And we wouldn't keep doing something if it didn't work because there was no such thing as advertising or people making profits. There was none of that kind of weirdness going on, right? And so people did things because they worked or they didn't. So here's a treatment that's been or uh, just a way of living your life um, that included these kinds of things. Um, I guess we'd call them medicinal in our current wording terminology, but for thousands of years. So if they've been used for 1,000 years, they're right. So in that regard, I wouldn't worry about what something. Okay, I wouldn't be concerned with that. And then when we look, for example, if you looked at what's in uh, your body, we've got small amounts of many, most, like not most, but a good portion of the periodic table is in our body. Okay, our body's made of. When you think of the people that are living for up to 150, 160 years, up the Hunzas and the Georgians of up, um, and they drink the water they drink from the fresh streams and the springs and the streams. They call glacier milk, and the reason they call it glacier milk is because it's got kind of a creamy. It's not clear. It's got like a creamy look to it because it's full of minerals, and they're drinking that, and it's these minerals that are like we often, not often, we always talk about vitamins. We talk about phytonutrients and stuff like that, and we pay very little attention to minerals. And what we need to understand about minerals in regards to nutrients is that the minerals are actually function as um, um, like the batteries of enzymes. And remember, their enzymes are how life happens, how biological life happens. Enzymes are how they happen, and the reason they happen that way. Um, the reason they happen that way is that metals have the form that they're in is that they have the ability to carry electrons, to carry charge, to carry energy, and so that's what they do. All right, and so they bring in the energy. So without the, for example, we think of glutathione as transferase, and it's an enzyme that allows glutathione to be recycled, right? Because you don't make it new every time. You recycle it. Why do you recycle it? Because as soon as glutathione does its job, what it's supposed to do, which is to neutralize a free radical. Once it does that, it's lost the ability to do that because it gave away its electrons. It needs to get a new set, and it gets it from this enzyme, glutathione S transferase. That keeps glutathione active. But that won't work without selenium. If selenium's not there, it's not gonna. That enzyme doesn't function. And every enzyme has different minerals that are associated with it. And without them, the enzymes won't work. And you consider that there's 37 sextillion, 21 zero reactions, chemical reactions going on in our bodies every second, right? And those are all mediated by enzymes. And you realize that. And then you realize all these minerals. So that's how important the minerals are. And we overlook them. So yeah, you don't want large doses of some of this stuff, but they're part of the earth. And when we get it in these small amounts, and they're not an issue. They're not an issue. What is an issue is breathing in or having this dropped on you when you sleep in large, humongous amounts of it, right? Or just during the day with what they call chemtrails. Chemtrails. That's a nice way of saying. Government approved corporate genocide, something like that. Anyway, don't worry about those small little things there. So and because it's in small amount, but some of the most important parts of So why would the pearl? Why does pearl powder? Why is it so important? It's got a lot of protein. Okay, so unlike bone, which has calcium carbonate also, it's got many other minerals and calcium carbonate is a mineral. It's calcium is the cation and the carbonate is the anion, and they come together and they form a compound made of minerals, right? So they're and then because you got a carbon compound there, it becomes an organic compound because you got calcium carbonate. You got the carbon in there. Now it's organic, and we are organic beings. Organic means that we are our cellular structure is carbon based. Okay, and these machines we're talking through these we're now calling it AI. They're all silicon based. Okay, so we're different kinds of. Are we going to call them life forms? I don't know. I don't think so. But because there's certain qualities of life that need to be met, and they're not doing it. Like eating, breathing. You got to exchange with the environment. You've got to somehow take in energy and metabolize it and use it, and then you become an energy source for other. And you're part of an ecosystem of energy exchange. Okay, well, that's not what these silicon-based guys are doing. Okay, they're getting plugged in. It's all artificial. It's not. There's nothing. It doesn't exist without intervention. It doesn't exist in the natural world. So, anyway, so also in the pearl powder are lots of proteins and amino acids. So it's really good. So it's been found not only topically for wound healing and for beauty. I mean, there's one kind of some of the pearls have this bluish look to them, and they've done some studies with that, and it turns out that blue is what gives Korean women are known to have like glass-like beautiful skin. It's almost bluish, and it's a lot of that is from the pearl powder. So it's cosmetically been in use in Asia for thousands of years. All right, and about that the Korean women with the blue you call it the blue. It has like a blue light effect. They actually did randomized placebo-controlled studies with it, so it's like it meets all the qualifications of a scientific and a peer-reviewed and published studies. So that glass skin, which seems to be a goal now in cosmetics. So anyway, that's that. But also ingesting it turns out that it's because of the kinds of amino acids that are in there, it's very helpful for function as strong antioxidants. So they've been finding it helpful with neurodegenerative conditions such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and so it's in that regard. And for all of us that haven't met the criteria for the diagnoses, because because the diagnosis is going to give you a name of a disease. There's no thing out there as a disease. There's just, you're having neurological nerves degeneration. They're not functioning very much because they're getting toxic. Neurodegeneration, and you can call, well, if it's got these kind of qualities, we'll call it Parkinson's. If it's got these, we'll call it Alzheimer's. And then sometimes we don't know. We might call it ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or we might call it multiple sclerosis. We're going to give it all these different names as if those are things, but they're not things. I hope you can understand that. Okay. So, anyway, it's been found useful in that, and it's found useful in other ulcers, and so it's there's a lot of use because of its antioxidant ability. It's got a lot good. It's a good source of important amino acids and minerals, right? So it's very good. Here's the problem. The problem is that when you don't know what you're getting when you buy a product, that's the problem, because they unfortunately, we're talking about business, right? Because there's people that are producing these things are doing it in large amounts, right? And they use they're going to use filler stuff that is going to be the lowest cost, right? And that's really the problem. Okay, so and the only way to know, because remember, these will boost your immune system, they'll boost your immunity, they will they're powerful antioxidants, they'll do all that stuff, but they're going to use some the least costly substances. That's the problem. They might have some of high quality products. So that's it. And the only way it can really be tested is with very special equipment that most people are not going to do. So if you can somehow trust the source that you're getting this from, okay, trust the source, and somehow maybe it's a family business, or it's been in China or Japan or whatever, or Korea for generations, and you trust it, then yes, for sure, because it's been used been ingested for a long time. Now, guess what? I mean, this is going to be a shock to there's a group of you, a small subpopulation. I hope it's small subpopulation that are going to maybe shocked by this, but you can also get all this stuff from, I'm sorry, vegetables and fruit. Yeah, I know, not corpses. No. You could maybe get some of this benefit from a corpse if you ate the entire corpse from nose to tail and drank the blood and chewed on the bones, ground up the bones, ground up the cartilage, and ingested it. Or you can just eat fruit and vegetables and get it all. Okay, because how do we get a mineral? If there's calcium in the ground, are you going to pick up some soil and eat it? Nah, you could, but you're not going to be able to absorb much of it. It's not bioavailable. How does it become bioavailable? It gets picked up by the plants. The plants either put an organic acid on it or an amino acid. It's either one or the other. But an amino acid is an organic acid, but other non-amino acid organic acids and amino acids, and they chelate it. Now you'll get that mineral when you eat the plant. The minerals that are in there will get into your body, and that's how we get them. We get them in through plants. That's it. Okay, so here's a question. I don't usually answer these questions, but I got. This is for Yeshua as the Son of God is your name, I guess. What kind of medical doctor role do you work? I don't know what that question means, Yeshua. What kind of medical doctor role do I work? I'm not sure what that means, Yeshua. If you're asking me, what do I do as a doctor? Is that your question? Are you concerned that what I'm saying might not be? Anyway, medical doctor, medical school, did a residency in internal medicine, practiced for many, many years. 40 plus years. Integrative oncology, internal medicine, intensive care, cardiac care. Is that okay, Yeshua? Hope so. Thank you. I get that a lot. I don't understand it. It's why, because I don't speak. I'm not wearing a white coat, and I'm not speaking BS. I just won't do that. Excuse me. Can't. I won't admit patients to hospitals or anything like that. And I'm not alone. Look at Lee Merritt. A lot of doctors out there who are awake. All right. So anyway, so what I'm saying is that the pearl powder, if you can trust the source, is very good. And if it's added to a food, to any kind of food, then because remember, it's been done for thousands of years, so it's good. It's good stuff. It's organic. It's an organic product. It comes from a creature, from an animal. All right. So it's not an artificially produced substance. So it's got organic matter. It's amazing. So that's it. Now, so that was Lisa. So Lisa, yes, go for it. But find a good source, okay? Maria, my husband has been diagnosed with left malignant epithelioid pleural mesothelioma in May of 2025. He has had drains, not a candidate for immunotherapy or chemo. He's 80 years old and on 2 milligrams dexamethasone, having some herbal medications as well from homeopath. He is booked for mistletoe injections. Please advise. Now, I think this sounds very, very familiar. I think we talked about this last week to some degree, because all these elements are the same, are very similar. Right? What did I see the other day? Yes. Oh, anyway. So anyway, whenever you listen, and I think I mentioned too when I responded the first time. Whenever they say, "I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do," or "You're not a candidate for," you should say, hold up your open arms to the heavens and thank God. Thank God. When there ain't nothing they can do, you got a chance. Because otherwise they've already got you linguistically. They threw out their web and with their words, and they got you. They're pulling you in. They're pulling you in with fear from these words. Okay, I'm just telling you, their words are not. You might think this is extreme, but they're 100% a lie. 100% false. 100% false. 100%. None of it is real, except when they're speaking about the fundamental basic sciences. Then those are real. And they're talking about, biology, that's real. Physiology, that's real. Talking about chemistry, that's real. Organic chemistry, that's real. Biochemistry, that's real. That's all real. Anatomy, physiology, all that's real. That's absolutely real stuff. But that's not what they're dealing with. They're dealing with synthetic pharmacological poisons. And in order to do that, they use words to tell you that your deviation from health has got a name, and it's a thing that got into you, and you got to get rid of it. And the only way you're going to get rid of it is with this poison. And that's basically what they're doing. And that's all a lie. That's all a lie. It's not true at all. They made it up. Biology is true. Physiology is true. Anatomy is true. Biochemistry is true. That stuff is true. And then when you weave in the truth with this stuff, then it sounds real. And that's how you get stuck. But I'm just telling you. Now, bone broth, okay, you don't need bone broth. If you look up the ingredients of bone broth, you're going to find that it's all comes in. You get the same thing from plants. How did the bone get it? The bone got it because the animal ate the plant. And and when you're eating bone broth, you're certainly not eating the bone broth of dogs, right? Are you eating lion or tiger or rat bone broth? What bones are you using? Okay, they're usually animals that are well, it used to be animals that were vegetarian, vegan, like cows and stuff like that. Now they use I think with bone broth is used mostly with chickens. And if you saw what chickens ate, you probably wouldn't ever eat a chicken again because they eat each other's feces. They eat anything. And because how do I know? Because we had chickens, um, not to eat them or anything like that, but we thought. We didn't think it through clearly. I mean, I didn't think it through clearly. We had, there was way too many. Okay, in Arizona, okay, there are these areas through Phoenix and Mesa and all that where they have scorpions. If you live here, like 2 houses over, you're not in that belt. There's no scorpions. We were in the belt, so there were these like thousands of these scorpions. So anyway, chickens love them, but problem is I didn't look into it enough. Is that scorpions are nocturnal and chickens are diurnal, so they don't meet very often. So we had a bunch of chickens anyway. So, but I saw how they ate, and you are what you eat. So here, these guys are eating feces, huh? All right. Flies eat feces too, and I don't eat flies. Do you eat flies? Anyway, so that's the bone broth. So most of the bone broth is chicken nowadays, guys. So, so if you have beef bone broth, but by the way, where did the beef? By the way, I've never seen a beef. I've looked for beefs, but there's no beefs out there. No, I saw some cows and I saw some sheep, but I never saw a mutton. I don't know a mutton and nuggets. I was looking all over the farm for nuggets. I didn't see them walking around at all. Why do we use those words? Because we commodify life. We commodify it so that we can eat it. All right, and we remove any element of of uh, of uh, of love and life from it, so that we can turn it. I don't know. I don't even know how sick we are. You know, carnivorous is really no different than um, uh, what's the word? Cannibalism. In fact, any argument in favor of eating animals, that same argument can be used for eating humans. Because really, you want to get the best meat for a human. Your best meat. Eat the human. The human's got the meat you want, right? That's what you want. You want all the stuff in you because you want to be human. So raise humans and eat them. That's because any argument that's going to say I got to eat animals because blah blah blah, make it a human. Right? You're going to get the best. Right? So let's use human bone broth if we're going to go for it. All right. So what I'm saying is that the bones got that because the bones were part of the animal that was standing in the grass and eating the grass. And that's how they got the strong bones. So instead of using a middleman or a middle animal, go right to the source, right? Wholesale rather than retail. Okay, you don't need a middleman. All right. Yeah. All right. So you guys have to join. You listen. You got all these wonderful questions, and I want to ask you. So please join these groups so we can interact now. So Maria, so we talked about this last week, and I want you to understand something. Your husband has been diagnosed. They put it, in other words, they put a name on it. Your husband's no longer your husband. He is now a malignant epithelioid pleural mesothelioma, which sounds really important and smart, but it's not. It doesn't mean much at all. It doesn't mean anything. You know what it means? Epithelioid is the cell type in the pleura, where the pleura lines the lungs, and the pleura is how the lung is attached to the chest wall, and there's a little bit of fluid in there that allows for the movement to be without friction and like all moving parts in the body, and so it's got a chronically fermenting cells in that area, and it turns out that a lot of times what's involved in this is the asbestos. So asbestos, that's been inhaled, and it kind of, because it's very small little sharp fibers, they work their way out, and they can get right to the ends of into your pleura, right? So that way, that's how. So, and they can cause that kind of damage to the mitochondria, and you wind up with chronically fermenting cells. So that's what's happening. But you don't have this thing called that. You just have some chronically fermenting cells there. So your husband needs to do what everybody needs to do with not only chronically fermenting cells, but any condition that deviates from health. If you want to be restored to health, it's really simple. You got to get rid of any toxins, and and it's not like, oh, I did the detox. Okay, so it's just like saying, I had a bowel movement yesterday. I'm done for the month. What? No, you're not. That was yesterday. There's today. Okay, so you got to do it in other words, detox is not something you did. It's something you do. You got to keep detoxing because you keep toxing voluntarily and not voluntarily. You're getting toxified. If you live in the United States, you get it day and night when you're sleeping. Don't worry, they're going to take care of you. So maybe the one benefit. Now I wonder with the airports closing if they're still going to be flying at night to drop their goodies on us. Anyway, so your husband, 80 years old. That's fine. That's fine. I have a friend of mine is 97. Fine. He's running around. He sprints every day. Sprints. Okay. Fred Bishi lives Staten Island. I think he still lives there. And been eating uncooked plant food for 57 years, since he was 40. 97. It's like talking to a 30-year-old. Sharp, runs. He's running right. Hasn't really slowed down his work. Works with people all over the world, helps him get healthy. So anyway, so 80 is young for him. He says, "Wow, I remember when almost 20 years ago." So in other words, age. When we think of age, what we really mean, the thing that the reason we think, oh, he's aging, she's aging. That we change that with accumulating toxins. The more toxins you accumulate, the more you're going to have dysfunction of the physiology, right? Because your physiology is going to get clogged up with toxins. So it's not age. It's not age. All right. In Vilcabamba at the elders table, you got to be 100 to have to earn a seat if you're 98 years old. I'm sorry, you're too young. 99, no, wait until next year, buddy. Too young. So you got to be 100 to sit at the table. All right. So we've got to change that. Okay, they've got us. We're born with into a system that tells us, look, health is impossible and disease is inevitable. You're going to get sick, and so we say, okay, wow, I better get some insurance. So you got insurance, and also if you're healthy, you're healthy. I better go to the doctor and find out what the hell's going on. And so you go for your well baby checkups and your well child checkups, and the doctors are really good. They're going to make sure that you're not going to be well. They're going to give you inoculation to protect you about a mythological creature that's going to get you in the future, maybe. And if we give you this then that mythological creature won't find you. Yeah, okay. You realize how wrapped up we are in linguistic feces. Okay, yeah. These webs have got us, have made us fear. We're walking fear zombies. We're afraid of everything. The next corner, right? There's diseases. Man, you just look over there, right on that doorstep there. I think I see some diabetes, and there was an ALS right just on the other side of that brick. ALS, right? And be careful. And there's heart disease just all over the place. I mean, and they're going to get us, right? They're going to get us. So can I get a shot that's going to protect me from heart disease? Oh, and when I get sick, what drugs should I take? Okay, so please, you got to get out of this. As long as you're using their words, okay? And if you're going to go get tested, they got you. I just want to get a PET scan. Yeah, they got you. They got you. You get a PET scan. Why? Because blah blah blah. Because you believe their nonsense, their story, their mythologies. Remember, MD. By the way, whoever was asking me what kind of doctor I was, MD is mythological doctor. So I went and studied all the myths. I know all the myths. I know the myths. All right. Okay. So keep in mind that Maria, that your husband, 80 years old, young. All right. I hope he's young. I'm almost there. So, what do you want to do? You've got to go to a biological dentist. You've got to find a biological dentist. And you've got to go IAOMT. We talk about that every week. International Association of Medical Toxicology, IAOMT. I don't know exactly what I forgot what the acronym stands for, but I think it's International Association of Medical Toxicology. I guess so. Something like that. Close. But they train, and so you want someone who's certified. So they've trained them and certified them in both SMART, which is the safe removal of mercury in the mouth. Mercury is a poison. All right, and it's an extremely toxic poison. I mean, the warning cans for pregnant women eating too much tuna fish, and yet they stick it in your mouth. I gotcha. It's the only safe place. I mean, the fish not safe, but in your mouth safe. Don't worry about it. But anyway, so but it's not only the safe removal of mercury, but the biological dentist is look at all sorts of things like biocompatibility, all the materials that are dental materials. 8,000. There's many dental materials, and you may, even though most people are okay with this particular material, you may have an idiosyncratic reaction with it, cause problems. So they test your blood to the full array of dental materials and find out if you have any incompatibility. They won't use it. So that's they call it biological dentist. I call it logical dentistry. It's just logical. So and they don't put any metals in your mouth, because metals are if you have more than one metal and you have salt, which is a salt solution, which is saliva, you've got a battery, so you've got electrical currents causing all kinds of problems. All right, and there are no pure metals. They don't put gold in your mouth. They put an alloy. They don't put titanium in your mouth. They don't use titanium implants. There's titanium makes up 40% of that implant. The rest is got stuff, including aluminum, in larger amounts than you're going to get in the pearl powder. Pearl powder. Someone was asking whether pearl powder is. It's a powerful antioxidant. It's really good. It's good for your skin. Make you. If you get the right one, you'll have the skin of a Korean woman, according to this study I was looking at. Yeah. All right. So it's good. It's good stuff. You just got to trust the source who's preparing it. All right. So that they're not using cheap filler, and you're getting the real deal, and that's what we're talking about with that. So. But anyway, that your husband needs to go to a biological dentist. Okay, get that clean taken care of. Then to do a cleanse, do a juice cleanse, and do that juice cleanse for what? As long 6 weeks. Keep doing it. Get a good recipe, which you can get, from us. Celery, cucumber, kale, spinach, lemon, apple. You can put in parsley. You can put in anything you want. And make it taste good. You don't have to worry. Don't worry about if you're using organic foods and you put in a little bit of fruit or enough fruit to make it okay and delicious. Don't worry that you need it. Remember, carbohydrates are not the enemy. Carbohydrates are not going. They're absolutely necessary. They're one of the 3 macronutrients that you need to live. And they're not just fuel. They're part of our structure. They're part of our immune system. They're part of our receptors on our cells. They're called glycoproteins, and so they're part of our DNA is a sugar. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Ribose is sugar. RNA, DNA. So the whole idea that sugars and the carbs are bad is just another more nonsense. They're necessary. What's not necessary with any of them is too much. Protein, gotta have protein. That's my mantra. Protein, gotta have protein. No, you need about 5-7% in your diet. Yeah. Why would I say such a thing? Why would I say that you need 5 to 7%? Because that's how much, that's the percentage of protein in your mother's milk. And that mother's milk was designed to be a complete food for an infant who's going to double its size in a short amount of time to become viable so that it can be weaned. All right. In other words, in order to double, because teenagers don't double, they don't go from 4 feet to 8 feet. All right. So you don't double. We grow rapidly, teenagers, but not as rapidly as a baby. So babies are growing more rapid. So the time in our lives when we're growing the most rapidly, and it can be, and it's being supported, fueled by milk, and that milk, which is the perfect food to allow for the greatest growth spurt of our life, has 5% protein. So what did I say? So this is not, you guys, this is not stuff I make up. This is just the way it is. This is biology. All right? It's the way it is. 5%. Well, more is better. Not true. More is better is true with nothing. Well, you've got more money. Okay, yeah, right. Get more money, get more. You're going to get more and more trapped and lost. You're going to get lost. You're going to get more things, and you're going to think you're going to get lost. Okay, more oxygen is important. No, too much. You put a mask of 100% oxygen on, you're going to get emphysema within a few weeks. Yeah, keep it up. Not even a few weeks. Couple, 1, 2, yeah, good 2 weeks. 100% oxygen. Forget it. You start to get fibrosis and water. I need more water. Try drinking a couple gallons a day. See what happens. Okay. So in other words, there's nothing that more is better. What we need is the amount that we need and nothing more and nothing less. But the animals don't have to think about that, right? They're not out there calculating how much to drink and eat and all that. Why? Because they're operating under the auspices of instinct. We gave that up. We jumped, not gave it up. We was beaten out of us by our parents. No, stop, don't, no, stop, don't, no, stop, stop, don't, no, stop, don't. Do it this way. You sit like this. Little boys don't cry. Little girls don't sit like this. Blah 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 blah. And if you're in Japan, it's if you're this is the way you act. And so we learn how to act. We learn how to eat. Blah, blah. So none of what humans do is natural. Everything we do is from culture. We're enculturated, hybrid mutants is what we are. Okay, so we don't know what to do. So we've got to calculate it. But the animals don't have to worry about it. They're not going to take too much of anything. What their instincts will allow them to do is to eat, drink, and live their lives according with their biological requirements. Right? They'll go to, if they're diurnal, they'll go to sleep when the sun goes down. If they're nocturnal, they'll wake up when the sun goes down. That's just that's what they'll do. We won't. We violate every part of our natural biology, and I wonder why I'm sick. I really I do my best. I have a good diet. Nonsense. You wouldn't be sick. You couldn't be sick if you were living in harmony with your biological requirements. You couldn't be. It's not possible. Well, it's in our genes. Nothing's in your genes. All right, unless we're talking about blue genes, there's nothing in your genes. Because if you made it to first grade and you're sat in class, yeah, you're all good. You're good. You're good. Your genes are okay. But if you never made it to that, means those are those of us that have problems. Okay, so anyway, I won't Uh, all right. Well, we're back, I imagine. So I don't know where. I don't know where. Are we back, everybody? All right, cool. So, I love it. I love it. The technology just has made my life so fantastic. By the way, I don't know where you didn't hear. I don't even, what the hell was I talking about? This stuff is really this is not cool. I'm not going to use. I don't want to use Restream anymore. It wasn't my microphone. My go away. Where is that? I hate it. No. Anyway, I was talking to Maria. I'm not sure if you got what did you got, Maria, and what you didn't get, but the point was this: that um, Maria, with your husband. The point is, 80 years old is not old. I mean, old. Remember, these are relative terms. Okay, all right. I mean, a 30-year-old is old to a 15-year-old. Okay, that is so. It's the degree of toxicity, and the degree of toxicity is uh, the degree of toxicity is how we define age. We think age. It's because of his age. No, it's because of his toxicity. Because as I said, I have a friend who's 97, and there's no cognitive decline, no anything, no anything. Yeah, so it's not in your genes. Okay, the only thing in you remember so toxicity. So that's it. So I want you to know your husband's not old. He's toxic. You got to clean out his toxins. And the reason that these chronically fermenting cells have developed is because of toxins. That's why they develop. They develop as an adaptive response because it's the only way that the cells can survive because they've lost the ability to use oxygen. So that's what they do. It's an adaptive response. It's not a thing that got into you that you got to get rid of. Okay, that's the whole idea. See, that's part of the linguistic trap that gets you running down the wrong place. You're running down with all of your heart and soul down an alley chasing a phantom. You're gonna run down this alley and chase this phantom that doesn't exist, and you're gonna shoot him with these these weapons. But that him is you. You're shooting yourself with weapons, thinking it's him. I mean, you have to understand this is an extremely clever, this level of of deception and and entrapment of the human psyche can only be at the level of Satan, of satanic. It's satanic. It can't. It's too good. It works too well. And you got to remember, I want you to know what this, J.D. Rockefeller did. Okay. They don't. I don't know if they look at his IQ or anything like this, but he's got to be the greatest genius, not great in the sense of good, but the most incredible genius that ever lived. Because he played chess, 4-dimensional chess, including through time, from about 1885 until 2020. Okay, that what happened in 2020 was the great hoax. All right, that okay. Set all the pieces up perfectly. Perfect. How perfectly? Well, in 2020, it took 6 weeks to shut down the world. That's pretty damn clever, especially when you've been planning it. And that's what it took. Okay, so anyway, that and part of getting us there was this. This was it. We're entrapped, we're ensnared, we're caught in the spider. The spider is called the Rockefeller web. That's got you running down the alley, shooting at yourself. Because you think this mythological creature who happens to be you, it's insane. Anyway, these adaptive responses are because of the toxins, period. Okay, got to get rid of the toxins. Got to get rid of the toxins. And when? Daily. Daily. That's why you don't eat for at least 18 hours a day. Because when you're not eating, your body's cleaning. And if it's well hydrated and well nourished during those 18 hours of not eating, you're set. You're set. All right? All right. So listen, Tim, I see, complex regional pain syndrome. Yes. I dealt a lot with that in New York when I was in New York. But yeah. So you got to contact me, privately and stuff, because this complex regional pain syndrome is too complex to talk about right now. All right. But it's a horrible, horrible thing. And I get it. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but a lot of times it happens from trauma. Like someone will get, an accident or whatever, some kind of trauma, and the pain is just takes over their life, and it involves a whole limb or whatever. It's a horrible, horrible thing. So anyway, Maria and your husband. So he's got to do that. Now he's on a dexamethasone. And instead of that, and I think I talked about this last week, he's on 2 milligrams of dexamethasone. You can easily put him on and I talked about this. I know I did, Maria. The adrenal rest program. You got to do. So you got to go to the website, drlodi.com, and get involved. Okay. Get him in this. Because if you're really asking and you really want this to happen, then do that. You can go for mistletoe injections. They're great as an adjunct if you're doing everything else, and you're not. So they're not going to be much help. Okay. You're going to lose hope. You're going to be giving more than paying the money, you're paying your hope. And then you can say, well, I tried that. It didn't work. Well, no. I tried alternative. And it's alternative. Why is it alternative? It's alternative to the Rockefeller. Of course, it's a natural, all that natural. People actually denigrate natural. That's all that natural stuff. You mean like lightning and the sun and solar systems? Natural stuff is weird. What? Not. Okay. drlodi.com. Okay. Please join them. Okay. Now here. This is Darwin. And the topic is parasites. I've watched all your YouTube videos, and I just want to clarify dosing is the correct as per your video. Fenbendazole 222 milligrams 3 times a day at pancure.com. Ivermectin 12 milligrams 3 times a day. Praziquantel 600 milligrams 3 times a day. Tinidazole 100 milligrams 3 times a day. Fluconazole 100 milligrams twice a day. Nystatin, niclosamide 3 weeks, and niclosamide, right? You don't get the dosage on there. That's 500 3 times a day. 3 weeks on, 1 week off for 6 cycles. Can get acupuncture meridian testing to confirm removal. Yeah, and I'm absolutely testing to confirm removal. It's very confusing, and I'm absolutely parasites are consuming my body, and my health is terrible because of it. Itchiness, diarrhea, skin conditions, brain fog, pains in the organs, muscles, twitches and spasms, nausea, fatigue, prediabetes, sleep apnea, terrible heartburn, headaches. Please help me. My life is terrible, and I barely want to live anymore. I understand. I'm sure my elderly mom is infected too. Similar situation. I researched these medicines, and the dosages online are so much lower, and not for 3 weeks straight daily as you make in your videos. So I'm confused. Okay, I got you, Darwin. So you're confused. Well, of course, if you look online, you're going to find that they're going to give you. You got to remember. Okay, now, so Darwin, listen carefully, and everybody else, listen carefully, and understand that this is the truth. The pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry, the medical industrial complex, know nothing about health and are not trying to restore health. That's not their, it's not in their, they don't talk about it. They don't even talk about it. They certainly don't teach it. There's not one course in medical school on health. Not one course in medical school. There's a little bit on diet, which is, of course, wrong, right? It has to do with some bizarre food pyramid they came up with. All right. But they don't even give you wrong about health. They don't even talk about it. It's not even a subject. It's not in any medical school anywhere. You'll never find it. Anything to do with health. Okay. They don't define it. They don't know what it is. So they're not trying to restore you that. So if you understand that, then you're going to say, why the hell would I ever go to a doctor who doesn't study health, doesn't learn health, has no, it's not the goal of the doctor. The goal is to play whack-a-mole with my symptoms. You never know whack-a-mole? Whack-a-mole, as you're a little kid, you're playing whack-a-mole. Well, whack-a-mole with your symptoms. I got a headache. Here, take this. You know, and you don't ever understand what's going on. Okay, so all of your problems that you're discussing, Darwin. Okay, and I can see you're frenzied, and of course you are, because you've got so many problems going on. You got to stop and realize something. It's not just parasites. Okay. It's not just parasites. And the reason you're stuck on that is because it's part of the Rockefeller mindset, is that we find an enemy and we go after an enemy. Now, but so let me just talk about the dosages first of all. They don't give you the right dosages. When you look at the dosages that they have, they're absurd. For example, there's a parasite that causes cholangiocarcinoma, and it's number one in the world here in Thailand. Cholangio is the biliary CFCs. In your the bile system of your liver. That's a part of the liver. So it's CFCs there. Number one in the world for what they call liver CFCs is in Thailand, and the recommended. So, and we know the Praziquantel will take care of these particular parasites. And I think the dosing that they're recommending is 1 a day for 6 or 7 days. It's like, no. So what happens when you don't give enough? When you don't give enough and you're not treating them enough, you're underdosing it. Then you're disturbing them, and they wind up migrating to other organs. So now you just spread it around. You've got to come on heavy. So this is why we do this. All right. But I don't know your condition and your mother's condition. I don't know your liver condition. So you can't say you can't just start all those things right away. You've got to get someone to help you take a look at your liver. At least go get a blood test. You can get a blood test without going to a doctor, and get the blood test. And if you get into our parasite group, you'll find out how to do that. I don't know exactly myself where you go, but it's in America. But there's a place you can go and you can get, and because our team, I mean, the members of our groups have all this information for each other. They're all helping each other. So when you join the groups, you get onto a special Telegram group, like a closed group that you all share information. But there's a place you can go get blood tests and find out how your liver's doing. If your liver's doing them, then we can start taking all these things. But you've got to be cleansing too. Your body is all of this stuff. I mean, if you pre-diabetic, you just said you're pre-diabetic. I don't know what that means. That means what? You have some insulin resistance, but not completely. Or, so you have to understand the diabetes, which doesn't exist, had the criteria to meet the diagnostic criteria to be diagnosed with diabetes mellitus type 2 has changed. They use hemoglobin A1C. They use fasting blood glucoses, but they don't use fasting insulins for some reason. Okay, so anyway, but the fact that so pre probably means that your insulin resist. They've discovered somehow, I don't know, your hemoglobin A1C was 5.6, almost up. So whatever they have found to say that it's nothing to do with parasites. It has to do with diet. So Darwin, you've got to do cleansing and all that stuff, and then get on to antiparasitics. Yes, but don't think that's it, because it's everything. You've probably got, no doubt, you've got heavy metals, you've got exposure to environmental toxins. Your diet is probably not at all near healthy. Your sleep, all this stuff, your whole lifestyle has got to change, and that's how you're going to get relief. That's how you're going to get back to being happy again about living, and look forward to waking up in the morning. And yeah, that's what's going to happen with all of these spasm and twitches are not due to parasites. They're due to nutritional deficiencies and stuff that you're getting from eating inadequate foods and stuff like that. And yes, parasites are in there and they're caught. We got to deal with them, but we've got to deal with it all. Otherwise, we're not going to be successful. Just join the group. Come on, Darwin. If you it sounds like it's your parasite problem is really significant. So, but remember, it's never just this one thing. Now, because and again, that's what Rockefeller wants us to do. You have to understand that. The thing is, we've got to, the diagnosis is identifying the enemy. It's naming the enemy. Now that we've named the enemy, we've got a tool chest here. It's called they actually call it their armamentarium, which is a military term. Their armamentarium. They're all their weapons. These are the weapons we have. They talk about the war on cancer, the war on whatever, diabetes. Okay, so the only thing that war has ever, the only ones who benefit from war are those who finance. All right, so those are the ones that benefit from war. Okay, so who's financing this war? Think about it. Okay, so see, that was detoxing. That detox all the time, right? Oh, I blew my nose last week. Right, you gonna blow it again this week? No, I did it last week. I've done that. I had my bowel movement on Monday. Forget it. No, it's every day. Remember, we separate life into healing, into detoxing, and no, it's part of a cycle that goes on every day, all the time, every moment. Every moment, our body is assimilating and cleaning, and that's just the way it is. We like to separate and name and stuff like that, but don't understand that we are a fluid process. We are a fluid process. Okay. So, right. Now, okay, so we got to help you, Darwin. We got to help you. Only you can help you. In fact, that's one lesson for us all to know is that nobody's going to help you. No one's going to restore your health. The people can guide you to do it because you're the only one. You're the one that opens your mouth and puts in whatever you put in. And you're the one who put your head on the pillow whenever you put your head on the pillow. And you're the one who either gets up or doesn't get up, sits all day or moves around all day. No one else can do this for you. No one can live your life for you. And health comes only from the healthy living. There's not another way. There's not another way. You can't buy it. You can't coerce it, demand it. You can't negotiate it. You can't borrow it. You can only earn it. Health, that's what it is, okay? And it comes from one thing, and it comes from living healthy. Period. There's not another way. And if there's not another way, then what are we talking about? Is there anything else we should do rather than to live healthy? Is there anything else we should do? Well, there is if health is not the concern. If health is not the concern, then whatever, let's do it. But if health isn't the concern, that's the only thing we can do. There's no how much of this and how much of that. Don't have to worry about that. Get rid of the toxins, live healthy. And then, we need supplements and stuff. Why? Because our food's no longer food, right? And we had, you should read, there was a report that came out talking about the selenium. The soil was completely depleted of selenium, and it was a major public health concern, and it was because due to the farming practices. And this came out, was a government report, came out. It was, I think it was like 1922. So where do you think we are now? You know, where are we now? We're at the point now where, yeah, we need some supplements. We need some supplements because they, yeah, all right. So by the way, we're at war. Shh. We don't want to tell anybody we're at war, but it's war. Full on war. Get the food supplies, knock out the communicate. Yeah, we're at war. Um, Real quick, here's Stacy asking if infrared lights are safe. Absolutely. Infrared, far infrared, they have really important therapeutic value. It's in that range that you can um, stimulates a lot of processes in the body. But there are different ways of doing it, and there are ways of um, you can ingest substances or have them injected if it's you dealing with the tumor. So it depends on what your so you're talking about CFC's breast tumor. Yeah. But what you want to do is find I don't know where you live, but if you find remember there's a place let me see if I can find that. There's a there's like a I'm not you've got to find someone who knows what they're doing with it, someone who's had experience, and not because it's dangerous or anything, but you don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste your money, and most of all you don't want to waste your hope, you don't want to waste your right. So see, there's I guess you would look up in your area. Now I don't know if you I don't know if you have a holistic type medical person working with you, but if you do, then they would know about this, or you can actually join our groups, and there are a lot of people in our group, our CFC group, will tell you where to get things, and for the best price and all that stuff. Okay, so anyway, but anyway, but they work. There's lots of studies on the on the photochemistry, the photobiology. That we use the word photo. Photo has to do with light. So anything that's dealing with light in a therapeutic sense is got the word photo in it. All right, so photo, and basically that comes from the word the photons of light, right? And but anyway. There are studies. Far infrared irradiation inhibits breast CFC cell proliferation independently of DNA. Yeah, so it's real stuff. But what you've got to find is someone who knows how to teach you how to do it yourself, because you can't do it yourself. But you can also, there are some very specific ways you can do it in a clinic. But the best thing I can really recommend is that if you join the CFC group, we can guide you, through your, and that's something for everybody to realize. When you join the groups, it's not like you just get one consultation, but it's like every week and twice a week. We on and on and on and guide you through the journey, because the journey is, the journey is the journey, and it's today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day, and we got to keep going, and something happens, you want to check in, so it's a process. We're all holding hands, and we're all going in that same direction. That is, we're all looking for help. I'm looking for help. I'm not there. I'm on the same with you. We're all on that road to health. That's the road we're on. Okay, and it's a beautiful journey, right? You're not alone and weird and nah. It's none of that. Okay, we're all on it. Your mom's on it. Your dad's on it. Your children are on it. Your baby's on it. We're all on that road. Okay, it's not unusual. He's very no. You're not. Okay, understand that. Okay, we have to de-Rockefellerize everyone. All right. So, but I just want you to know that this stuff works for everyone. And so I would love to get you, so that we can share all that because there's places to get it. So, all right. So remember, photons, not protons. Photons. When I said photons, yeah, I mean, think what they're doing. So we're at war, folks, and so you got to keep that in mind. And I know a lot of people say, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I got to take care of myself. Okay, don't hear it. Don't hear it. But by the way, hey, there's 8 tornadoes coming towards your town. I don't want to know it. Don't tell me about those tornadoes. I'm too busy. I got to go to work. Okay. Right? I know. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Oh, it's all nonsense anyway. And you can't believe anything. Okay. So, anyway, Leslie. Okay, that was Stacy. So Stacy, yes, infrared is safe and it's real and it works really. You want to make sure that you're going to do it right, right? And it's not just something it's not like a short explanation. So we got to teach you about it. So please. But yes, absolutely. Now this is Leslie. Lung. I have metastatic breast CFCs, which spread to the liver, lungs, bones, eyes, etc. I have shortness of breath, and finally, after several months, had a procedure to drain the fluid that had built up around my right lung and compress it. Seemed to be a success, and oxygen went up to 100. And the tech said that the lung had popped open. I felt great. Following morning, the heaviness and shortness of breath were back, and it was determined that the lung had actually not opened up fully after 80% fluid removed and was in fact now stuck open due to the malignant cells in the effusion, causing it to stick to the wall. A drain was put in and then they removed a day later to see how long it would take to refill again. The doctor said the lung would likely never drop back down. I'm having a hard time accepting that. I'm now on oxygen to keep levels up. Is there any hope that there are alternative? Listen, absolutely. Your doctors, first of all, and this is okay. Understand integrative oncology. Oncology is CFCs. Integrative means we're going to take our knowledge of all the different healing disciplines and medical disciplines, and you know when to use what. So there's situations where you've got to use the allopathic system, and this is one of them. All right, it's like your bone's broken. There's no amount of herbs that are going to. It's going to heal, yes, but you'd like to reset it first. In other words, there are the baby's coming out feet first. You're going to have to. You can't go to the herbalist. It's not the time for that. So you've got to know when to do what. So this is a situation. So what's happening is, because it sounds like the way you're describing this, that you really don't. They didn't help you understand it, and that they do that on purpose. They like to keep you in the dark so that you keep paying them because you don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they don't even really know what they're talking about. Okay. But at least you know that you don't know. They think they do. But anyway, here's what's happening. And I mentioned a little bit earlier with the lady whose husband has a mesothelioma, but the lung is attached to the thoracic wall, to the chest wall, by something called a pleura. And there's a There's this thoracic pleura and the parietal pleura. So there's two parts to it, and in the middle is this fluid. And that fluid allows for the movement of your breathing without friction. Otherwise, every time you took a breath, it would hurt. And every time your heart beat, it would hurt because you have the friction. So anything that's moving in the body, including joints and all that, has a little somehow it's got two surfaces, and in between is a fluid. So we know we have joint fluid, and so and that fluid is normal pleural fluid. It's in the pleura, and it allows for easy movement. What happens is that if you get somehow you get an excess of fluid in between those two, between the part of the lung, the part of the pleura that's attached to the chest wall, and the part of the pleura that's attached to the lung, right? You get more and more fluid in there. And now you've got what's called a pleural effusion. And so that means the lung is being compressed because there's fluid in that space. And the more fluid, the more the lung is compressed, and you can't get a breath. That's what's happening. So I'm not, the other words you were using are not, there's no popped open or anything, all that stuff. Forget that. This is what's happening. So why did the fluid get in there? There's a couple of reasons the fluid gets in. So that's why when we do a test, usually when we draw the fluid out, we send it to the laboratory and we ask for certain things, like I'm not going to give you all the words we use, but basically we want to find out if it's a transudate or an exudate. Okay, so a transudate means that the fluid has leaked in because of not enough albumin, or there's certain metabolic situations that allow for what's called a transudate. Okay, now that's very different than an exudate. An exudate is when the tissues, the pleural tissues actually have something on them, usually malignant cells that are producing it. It's exudate, and it produces an exudative fluid. And we can tell that by the amount of protein in there. We can tell that by specific gravity. There's a lot of things we can determine it's an exudate or transudate. So that's one thing. That's the first thing you find out, right? And are there any red blood cells in there? Malignant, all that stuff. So it sounds like you had a malignant effusion, and if your nutrition, if they're or metabolically unstable, you can have a combination of a transudate and an exudate and all that stuff. Things that you shouldn't even have to think about because they should just be knowing this. So now, normally, what happens is, and this happens in lungs. It can happen in the abdomen, right? What's called ascites. And so what you do is you can drain it out, right? And you just drain it out. Now, keep in mind, if you have a lot of fluid and you drain it out, that fluid initially came from your blood, meaning that your blood, which is made up of plasma, which is all the non-cellular components of your blood. What are the cells? The red blood cells, white blood cells, and the platelets. Those are the cellular. Other stuff is the proteins, and the amino acids, the proteins, the peptides, the steroidal hormones like the estrogens, progesterones, cortisol, the nutrients, the gases, the oxygens, and the carbon dioxide. There's all that stuff in there, and the waste material that you still haven't eliminated. So all of that is part of that's in the blood, plus the cellular elements. So when you've got an effusion or ascites, what's happened is the non-cellular stuff, the plasma, has gotten into that area because the cells don't go across they don't diffuse into it because they're too big. Now, but if you do have red blood cells in there, then that means that either the holes are big or you're bleeding as well. So that's why you look for blood too. But anyway, it's getting in there. So when you take it out, let's say you take out 3 liters, 4 liters. Well, what's going to happen is that same process is going to want to fill that back up, which means it's going to come from your blood, which means you're going to lose volume in your blood. So you've got to get fluids, IV, intravenous, at once they take that out. Otherwise, you have to understand that the process is going to happen again, and now you'll be low. So you got to keep your fluid up, and that. So there are ways we can do that medically. There's certain things we can do. We can give furosemide and aldactone, which are they help you get rid of fluids to prevent on a daily basis, keep your intake up, and there are ways we can do that. So we can do that, and medically in the clinic, there's ways to easily take care of this all the time. A lot of doctors don't do this as an outpatient because they don't really know how, so they send them to hospitals. It's not something you have to go to the hospital. You can do it in our clinic easily, all the time. It's not uncommon. But anyway, so they drained the fluid out of the pleural effusion. They drained it out. And this is true of ascites as well, but especially in the pleura, when we're talking about the chest. When they drain it out, now it will reaccumulate. That's normal. There's nothing like it popped open. Whatever they said, whatever words they were using were just not true. Okay, and usually the criteria that they used to use when I used to admit to the hospitals, which is that I think after 3 times, if it requires 3 consecutive what's called thoracentesis, we're taking out the fluid, then we try to do something called pleurodesis. And pleurodesis is where you've got a chest tube in, and they keep the chest tube. They don't take it out. They don't take it out that night to see if it refills. No, they just measure how much fluid's coming. They don't need to take it out because they got to keep it flowing. I don't know what they did. We're talking about pneumo. So pneumothorax is getting air. We're talking about pleural effusion. It's a different thing. So pleural effusion is fluid in there. So pneumothorax is getting air in there. Anyway. So it's drained, and they watch it drain. So what they'll do is, and they realize, well, it's not going to stop for a while. So we'd have to keep either keep the chest tube in or be draining it every day. So instead of doing that, they try what's called a pleurodesis, which works maybe in 85% of the time. The pleurodesis is where they drain, and then they put in a substance that causes the pleura on your lung, right, the parietal pleura, and then the pleura on your chest wall to stick together so that you can't get fluid to accumulate. That's what a pleurodesis is. And what they use is talc, like the same stuff that's in baby powder. I think they've got other sclerosing agents now, but that's been pretty standard for a long time. And they put that in, and it caused those 2 surfaces to adhere and to kind of get sclerotics, scarred up together. Yeah, you wouldn't want this generally, but when you're having this effusions, you have to have it. Otherwise, breathing is not possible. And so you can get that because not the whole lung. You still have some movement on the other parts of your lung, right? You could, if you did that with your whole lung, you wouldn't be able to breathe. So it's not going to happen. But it just happens in this one area. But it's called pleurodesis, and 85% of the time, the person can now go back to not having the accumulated fluid, and also not having to go in the hospital and keep getting it drained. All right. No, but still, you've still got to work on restoring health. So if you restore health, once you restore health, of course, there's no CFCs, there's no pleural effusions, there's no headaches, there's no itching, so health is our goal. And it's not just getting rid of one particular manifestation of ill health. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I'm, I don't know where you are, Leslie, but I don't know what to say. My clinic in Arizona, we'd be able to help you. An Oasis of Healing. It's in Arizona. You can find it on online. But wherever you are, there might be a good doctor in your area who knows what they're doing. But apparently, from what I heard, from what you were telling me, they sound like really typical doctors who don't really explain anything well at all. And that's probably because they really don't even understand themselves. But there's all sorts of things you can be doing in addition to taking care of it physically, with what I just described. But in addition to taking care of it physically, there are things you can do to restore health, which is what you're referring to when you say, "Is there anything I can do to unstick the fluid around that?" So you see, that was the wrong concept. So the idea is that is it an exudate or a transudate? Probably exudate, probably a combination, but probably mostly exudative, meaning we have to deal with the underlying process, which is the chronically fermenting cells and everything like that. So the ivermectin and bendazole that you're mentioning that you take and other something, you're doing a lot of different things, and as you say, you're so confused. I get it. So instead of being confused, come to the CFC group. Okay, come to the CFC because there's so much. There's no way I could tell you everything you need to do, and then you say, okay, I did this. Now I have this. So in other words, it's an ongoing thing. So let's join. All right. All right. Now, this is Teresa. Bacterial overgrowth. My question is, what can I do to get rid of bacterial overgrowth within my gut? I've been struggling with it for years and nothing seems to work. Okay, Teresa. So when you use the word overgrowth, I'm thinking that they might have told you have SIBO, which is, I hate that acronym, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, because that's what they talk about. They don't usually use that term when it comes to the colon, like with, like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis or irritable bowel syndrome. That's what, they don't usually use the words overgrowth or all of that. But it's not really overgrowth. I mean, that's one aspect of it. It's a dysbiosis. It means that the healthy relative proportions of the different microorganisms that would live in the gut of a healthy person are not there. They're out of proportion. You've got a lot of more of this than you need, and not enough of this, and so they're all out. And why do we need them? Because these microorganisms are responsible. Not responsible. They are intimately and involved with and actually are part of our physiology. They're part of how we function. Without these, we don't live. So they're not, when we think of them, these microorganisms in our gut, we have to understand they're not them, they're us. They're part of us, right? Just like your heart. Without your heart, you can't live. Without your liver, you can't live. Without your kidneys, you can't live. Without these guys, you can't live. So they're not, they're part of how we live. And if they're out of proportion, they're out of balance, they're not going to be, then they're not going to be, then we're going to be out of balance, basically. And that's it. We have to restore that balance. So when someone realizes they have an overgrowth, that means there's a lot of one that they don't need and not enough of the one that they do need, is what they mean. And that's what we all have to some degree. And we have to restore that. In fact, if we could restore our gut homeostasis, a healthy biome, we're healthy. All right. So what's involved in it, the reason you wound up with that, what's part of that whole process of developing a dysbiosis in your gut is getting what we call a leaky gut, where the tight junctions between the cells are burst and not repaired, as part of it. And there's a lot of other stuff that's going on in there. By weight, 2/3 of your immune system is in your gut, in what are called gut-associated lymphatic tissue, Peyer's patches, and then all the lymph nodes associated with that are around the organs in there, and the spleen. These are all part of the immune system. So by weight, like 2/3, 60% of the immune system is in the gut. And so by cleaning up the gut, you have just given yourself a huge boost of immunity. Right? So Um, so clearly cleaning, doing colonics, cleaning out that so that you don't reabsorb that, because every 4 minutes, there's enterohepatic circulation where the bowels, including your colon, uh, 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 they have veins, and all the waste comes there and goes back into the portal vein, right back into your liver. So every 4 minutes, your liver gets a big wave of sewage. So cleaning out your colon is very, very important for your liver and for the lymph nodes. But so there's a lot to do. So you got to clean out. You've got to do some cleansing. We could do a juice cleanse, and then perhaps a fast. So we'd have to work on your situation specifically. But basically, you need to clean it out. And a water fast, they just reassemble in the right order. They just do. Um, it allows for that. And then when you start eating, you've got to eat the food that's going to support uh, a healthy relative proportion of your biome. You want to eat the food that, because remember, whatever you're eating is what they eat. They're not, they can't find it. You're the one. You're the cook. You're the chef. So what you're eating is what's for dinner. And if what's for dinner is not the healthy, the ones that you need, don't eat that, then they're not going to hang around. They're going to die. And so that's how you wind up. So it really comes down to what you eat and how stressed you are and how much sleep you're getting. All that is going to determine what's available for them. That's what it comes down to. But you've got to cleanse. And then we use prebiotics, probiotics. But when you're eating healthy, those are the prebiotics. The food you eat are the prebiotics. Okay. So cleansing, fasting, colon hydrotherapy, lymphatics, living healthy, going to bed early, and all that. And then when you do resume eating after you've done your juice cleansing and your fast, when you do it within a 4 to 6 hour window, and you stop 5 to 6 hours before bed, and bedtime is latest at 9. And just do that, and you're eating human food, and the result is health. That's just the way it is. It's the formula for health. Yeah. And there's not another formula for health. And it doesn't matter if, well, I'm a type O or I'm AB and all that. It doesn't work that way. The antigens that are on your red blood cells do not determine what you eat. That which determines what you eat is your anatomy and physiology and biochemistry, which is unique to your species. And so if you're in a species that is what we would call a fly, then your nutrient requirements are different than if you were an eagle or an orangutan or a buffalo. So your anatomy and physiology determine what you're going to eat, not the number of antigens, not the kinds of antigens on your red blood cells. Type O, type. Eat right for your blood, So there's, again, that's madness, more madness. Just by the way, horses have what, 7 or 8 different blood groups. So you can imagine, some horses should be eating hamburgers, some horses should be eating hay, other horses, no. Dogs and cats, dogs have a lot too, I forget. So around 7, 8, 6, I forget. But all animals, they have different blood types. They're still eating what they're eating because of the species that they are and what happens to be the environment they're in. And they're in an environment that is appropriate for their species, unless we capture them and put them in a zoo, or capture them and keep them in our house. Otherwise, they're going to be living only where they can survive, and where they can survive is their biological niche. All right. All right, so um, that's what I mean. So absolutely, Teresa, your situation is actually very simple to understand, and what to do is the hard part is us. We're always the hard part. We get in the way of our healing because we're not willing to do what we need to do. You know, we want to find another way. There's got to be something. I mean, I gotta change the way I mean, you know, I gotta use guy. Isn't there a pill I can take? I mean, no, ah, no, sorry, no, is no, but what? No, something comes out. All right, so okay, now, all right, so um, this is Lizzie. She says chemo for breast CFCs, thyroid, breast thyroid CFCs, 5 years ago. All good. Eating plant based 3 years. No booze, no dairy, all of it. My question is recently my whole left foot becoming numb and tingly. Seems to be progressing. Not sure what's going on. What can I do to put the brakes on it? What do you think is the cause? What diagnosis with was diagnosed with Hashimoto's years ago? Why hasn't my clean diet cleaned that up too? Is that the culprit? Yeah. All right. So Lizzie, I hear uh, your concerns. So, um, see, chemo for breast thyroid CSC. So you had breast and thyroid. Is that what I mean? That's what it looks like it says. And I hope you went to a biological dentist if you didn't go right away, because the breast and the thyroid are right on the same meridian of these teeth over here and over here, right? So you got. I just hope you did that, and you get there. You got. I mean, just do that. And if you did already, do it again. Make sure that thing, because sometimes we get a procedure and it doesn't quite work, or you know, it wasn't complete, and that's not necessarily the fault of the dentist. It's just that it's really difficult to get everything uh, sterilized. So if you take out a root canal, or you're correcting a cavitation, and you put in the ozone gas. Remember, the ozone gas is after you've irrigated with an ozonated water, the ozone gas goes up into the bone, right to the trabeculi of the bone, which are the little like caves in the bone. They go up in there because these guys are hanging out up in there. It might not get far enough up, and there might be some. So so you want to recheck on it. But anyway, but breast thyroid is same meridian. Okay. Now you're eating plant based, but eating pasta and bread is plant based as well, and uh, so just I don't know what your plant based is, but now what I don't know also is what does plant based mean? Because I would just say I'm either vegetarian, vegan. Because if you're a vegetarian, you eat eggs and or cheese, or yeah, and or dairy. That's it. There's basically the vegetarian. But plant based could mean to me could mean I eat the majority of my diet is plant, but I eat fish and beef and other stuff too. That's what I think of the word plant based. So I don't really know what plant based means. So, but again, even if you're eating 95% plants, but it's all cooked and it's got non-organic, and so so it's more than just that. So I hope you're aware of that, and I hope most of what you're eating is uncooked, so you're getting a lot of real vegetables, real nutrients, and you're getting a lot of healthy oils from nuts and seeds and nut butters and seed butters. you know, chia seed porridge and flaxseed smoothies, and all those sorts of things. Um, and then the Hashimoto's is just that's just the name. It's a name, Rockefeller. They might as well call it Rockefellers, not Hashimoto. And Graves, which is the opposite, they should call it Rockefeller 1, and Hashimoto's Rockefeller 2. It's all related, although thyroid conditions are all related to iodine deficiency. You got to get the iodine back, and that takes about a year and a half of taking iodine. And during that time, you take appropriate natural thyroid um, medicine to keep your thyroid function healthy while you're replenishing your iodine. Because once your iodine has been replenished, then your thyroid will produce enough of the right enough thyroid hormone for you to be healthy, right? But you've got to get there. But you've got to keep it because the thyroid is one of the big bosses of the immune system. So you got to keep that going. So you've got to do that. But that's not with your left foot. If your entire left foot, you mean from the ankle down, that's very unusual, unless there is an actual something blocking the blood flow into there. So when you say, but the terms you were using, numb and tingling, that can mean that you're like if you've ever woken up and you were sleeping on your arm, well, you were probably blocking a blood vessel that was supplying that was allowing the blood to leave and or go into it. Anyway, you block the blood flow, which eventually gets numb because that means the nerves are not getting their nutrients either. Or you're actually on a nerve that is in that area. But if you're on a nerve, usually, well, you'll know if it's on a nerve, because if you wake up in like only this part of, these two fingers, then you know you were on a nerve, or just these three fingers. But if it's your whole hand, then it's different. So, but it's your whole foot. So I'm not sure what you mean. That's why if you were in a group, we could talk this out, and I could find out, because the whole foot means that there's something blocking that foot, because otherwise it would be in different areas, because different parts of the feet are supplied by different blood vessels or nerves. They go to different parts. So that's why I'd have to really talk to you about what you're really experiencing, and then maybe have you do some tests for me on your foot, so I could better understand what you're talking about. And you're talking about one foot, not two. So, because I'm thinking if you had a chemo in the past, like the platinum-based chemos and other chemos will cause numbness and tingling in your hands and feet, but not just one foot. It's never like that. So there's a lot of stuff I need to clear up with you, Lizzie, so I could answer your question more thoroughly, or more functionally. So you have something to go on, because right now I'm not giving you any kind of hints on what to do. So we have to have a discussion. So Lizzie, join the CFC group or Health and Healing group. If you've done no more CFCs, join the Health and Healing group. But just join one of the groups so we can interact. Okay. All right, you guys. It's after 9 over here, which means it's, I don't know, it's your daylight savings time. So I don't know what happened there. Anyway, I just know that it didn't change in Arizona. So that means it is 7 a.m. p.m. in Arizona, 7:10 p.m. in Arizona. So I don't know when the rest of the country, because you change. But anyway, it's time to go, and I wish we could do this every day, because there's so many questions and there's so much confusion, and what I'm seeing here mostly is that is language. We're given the wrong language, or not, and we're not even given the correct language in their particular dialect, right? And they have different dialects. So we're not even given that. It's crazy. So you guys, anyway, we've got so much work to do. We got to keep going. You got to join the groups. And as I said, I'll be open for a few private consultations on a weekly basis. But I got to keep the number down because I just won't have the time. All right. So anyway, sawadee kap, aloha, namaste, namaskar, and be safe out there. And by the way, those of you guys who want to hide and pretend like there's nothing going on, it is going on. Keep your eyes open. There's about 8 tornadoes coming for your house. Just keep your eyes open. All right. Sawadee kap, aloha.